Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to begin this meeting in just 1 minute. I would ask if you take your seats and silence any electronic devices, phones, iPads, smartwatches, or any other devices before we go live. Thank you. Is my gavel up here by chance? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us inside and you came in the last moment or so, please silence any electronic devices. Once the meeting begins recording, we will start, which will be momentarily. Thank you. Can we have a start to the recording? Ladies and gentlemen, the time is now 8:05, and this is the Wednesday, May 21st, 2025 edition of the meeting of the Mayor and Town Council of Forsyth Heights, Maryland. And this meeting will come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember McDonald,
Here.
Councilmember Little,
Present.
Councilmember Brownson, Councilmember Kennedy, Councilmember Hines,
Present.
Council President Council President Noble,
Here.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Here.
Mayor Lilly.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, I would ask we have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. I ask that everyone would please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. All right, next we have meeting minutes, which were distributed in advance. They are minutes for the May 5th meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the May 5th, 2025 minutes? All right, hearing none, the minutes are approved as they have been printed in this agenda. Next, we have the main agenda for this evening. We have a couple of changes, so I will move that we amend tonight's main agenda, removing the presentation by the Potomac Riverkeeper Network and instead inserting an agenda item with a presentation from Mr. Evan Morsel with the JTCC Junior Tennis Champions Center. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it has been duly seconded. Madam Clerk, I think you've got the names of who seconded. That we amend tonight's main agenda, removing Potomac Riverkeeper Network and their presentation and inserting it with the presentation by JTCC, the Junior Tennis Champions Center instead. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Are there any opposed? All right, hearing none, the ayes have it. Is there a motion to adopt our agenda as amended?
I move to adopt the agenda as amended.
Is there a second? It has been moved and seconded that we adopt tonight's agenda as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, hearing none, the ayes have it. Agenda is adopted. Next, we will have council member and mayor reports, and we will begin first in Ward 1 with Council Member McDonald. My apologies. Getting ahead of myself. We're going to have the presentation by Greenwell. We just approved it in the agenda. Now we're going to let you come forward. This evening, we have Mr. Jonathan Carpenter and Miss Leslie Feliz from Greenwell, which is the town's lobbyist. How are you? Good evening.
I want to start off by saying we really appreciate and love the opportunity to be your eyes and ears in Annapolis. We don't take that for granted. I say that every time because we truly, sincerely mean it. You're one of our clients that we love to come and speak with. We always emphasize, we hope you look at our newsletters and our correspondences we send out. We pride ourselves in our communication so that you know what's going on. And anytime you get any of those newsletters and those updates, please just give us a call. You know, we will always pick up the phone and email. So again, thank you for the opportunity to continue on as your lobbyist. I just want to say it was, as we started out the session, I'll talk a little bit about the budget and some of the things that happened with the budget. We knew going into this session that it was going to be a very strenuous session due to the budget. In fact, one of the triggers that was passed in the budget that the governor recently signed was that they must go back in session depending on the things that the federal government does. So there's been a lot of talk about a special session this fall, and that could happen depending on what's happening again in this federal government. In this climate, we all know the uncertainty is there. And so there is special language in the budget that would require the General Assembly to come back in session for a special session. So we'll be keeping an eye on that and keep you informed of what we hear moving forward. It was, again, as we said prior to session, it was a structural deficit. However, they are mandated to pass the budget and they were able to do it. We have a $67 billion budget that was passed. But in December 24, we came here and we talked about the deficit being for fiscal year 25, 396 million, but going into FY26, it was going to be 2.9 billion. They had never seen a deficit like this in the state of Maryland in the last 20, 30 years. So they were going in here with the uncertainty of what was going to happen. And in fact, they projected that budget by 2030 to grow by $6 billion. So it was serious and it was all about the budget. And the budget didn't get passed until you remember the last day of session, the last couple of days. So they worked on this up until the end with a lot of uncertainty, but they did pass the budget. Some of the things that they did, there were some tax increases. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But one of the things they did, they created a new tax bracket on some higher income earners. That's one of the ways they made up in the budget. The tax increases, things you got to keep an eye on, right? A $5 tire tax. What does that mean? So again, things to us, registration fees in the state. So things like that, that everyday constituents need to pay attention to their citizens. Those are ways they made up for these taxes and increases so that they could pass the budget. Also, there were things done in the budget to reduce the budget. They still funded the blueprint. You've heard a lot about K through 12 funding. This is something that has I'll put a undue, as we call a unfunded mandate on our counties and municipalities, because it all trickles down. But when you have everybody sitting at the table, as we said before, from the Eastern Shore to Western Maryland to Baltimore City, Prince George's County, Montgomery, all saying we cannot afford to fund this K-12 blueprint plan at this level. But the legislature continues to push on. In fact, the governor had taken like $500+ million from the budget, reduced it, and the General Assembly put that money back in. But again, we are going to keep an eye on the fact that the unfunded mandate, we're calling it, on our counties is going to trickle down, and they continue to say we can't afford to do this. So any questions about that? Okay. Again, so they did balance the budget. That $2.9 billion deficit for FY26 was reduced, and it's moving forward positively at $155 million. There is $2.1 billion in the rainy day fund. So they really did a great job with this budget. And in fact, the $6 billion that was projected to grow by 2030 was reduced to $3 billion. So again, major work on behalf of the legislature moving forward. I'll talk about a little bit about some of the things that we advocated for. A big win for Forest Heights is that we worked with Senator Muse on his efforts to put in an LBI for the Forest Heights Boys and Girls Club. So we will have a new, hopefully, Boys and Girls Club coming to Forest Heights. There was a commitment of $4 million in the budget for this new Boys and Girls Club, and they will come back next year and go after the other half that it will take to build a brand new Boys and Girls Club. So again,
Was that 450,000 or 4 million?
4 million. 4 million.
4 million.
4 million. Wait a minute, 450,000 for the Boys and Girl Club, which it was 4 million. We bring some of it to the town, but 450,000. You're right, Mayor. Thank you. And then another 450,000 in the subsequent year. So again, this is something we're proud of. We worked with Senator Meese in bringing this to the town of Forest Heights, so we're excited about that. Also, we worked on the pension bills, as you know. It was a great effort. We did work with Senator Muse and Delegate Valderrama. They did withdraw those bills in a timely manner, which allows things to go forward as you look at this option. So again, we're very proud of the work we've done there. Let Leslie talk a little bit about some of our legislative bills that we also worked on in the session, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit about the interim.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So as you heard, legislation was pretty big for Forest Heights this session. So not only did we introduce legislation, there were a number of bills that we saw that could have a great effect on Forest Heights. There were, I would say, a lot of these bills that we oppose were attacking your autonomy as a municipality. So that is why we do want to thank you for responding to our emails and just letting us know what your stance is on things, because the quicker we can work on things, the more chance of success. Some of those bills that we opposed included, there was a bill that was going to set some rigid requirements for financial officers. So essentially anyone who was handling the budget would have to have certain education certifications. And honestly, this could also place just a financial burden finding someone with all of these qualifications. So we definitely got on that one very quickly. It did not move forward, didn't make it to crossover. And we made sure to talk to the committee and also just directly with this bill sponsor on this one. There were also bills that would have placed restrictions on your traffic enforcement, affected any annexation in the future, and also affecting those tax deadlines that you all set. So those are just to name a few. I think this year we saw quite a few bills that could have had those negative effects and put burdens on you all. I'm seeing more and more of them every year. So just something for us to keep in mind, especially during the interim when we're talking to legislators, trying to get an idea of where they're heading, especially because they still have some more work to do with the deficit. We also supported some bills. I think the big one for Forest Heights was House Bill, just one second, House Bill 343. So this allows for you all to use a technician who's certified that can approve those stop sign violations. We know that your police department, they have a lot on their hands. The budgets are getting shorter. So we just want to make sure they can dedicate their time on those more important things. In addition to legislation, this was a really big year, in my opinion, for relationship building for Forest Heights. One thing, as you all can remember, a few years ago, we tried to get an increase on the local impact grant, which is the funding you get for the proximity to MGM. But some of the feedback we got from legislators is they want to see more initiative from Forest Heights in directly speaking to MGM, seeing what opportunities we can get through those direct communications. So we've been working, our team has been working to make sure we have that ongoing engagement. I know there's been a few visits, and just want to ensure that you all are aware, these aren't just pointless meetings. They have a purpose, and we want to make sure we have a strong foundation so that if we do come back for legislation, they can't say we didn't try our best efforts. We also worked on meetings with Department of Natural Resources. We wanted to see if there was funding for their tree planting program. But I do think the mayor did a great job in also just bringing up some other initiatives you all have, which led to an in-person meeting with DNR. And we'll continue to work on with you all just to make sure the conversations are continuing and we do get something out of them. And also the biggest one that we're still working on is with MDOT, Department of Transportation. As you all remember, there's $100,000 out there that we're trying to access. This is for some traffic improvements because we're close to MGM. There were some hiccups from MDOT's side, just some delayed responses. Mainly we're waiting on the grant agreement to get approved from the lawyers. So we did reach out to the assistant secretary because we think this is urgent, and it's on his radar. We have someone who's more higher up, just making sure that it gets done before that deadline in June. So just want you all to be aware, we're still working on that. That's a big priority in these next few weeks. Just wrapping up here, just want to speak a little bit on the interim. Even though the session ended, the work doesn't finish there. We still have to make sure, as I said, MDOT is a big thing. We want to make sure we continue talking to Department of Natural Resources. And also during these next few months, it's important to set a foundation on what our ask will be for next session, whether funding or legislative. So we would want to have a planning meeting with you all to just see what those priorities are. Again, just thank you for allowing us to work with you all in another session, and we'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Leslie and Jonathan. Very comprehensive updates and comments on this year's session. We have a question from Councilmember McDonald.
Thank you both. Good evening. I had a question regarding the local impact grant, and I guess them looking for more from Forest Heights and what that looks like.
I think I'd start with what we've been doing, actually going and taking a tour, meeting with the higher ups in MGM that we haven't met before, building those type of relationships to show them that we're here. They looked at us as trying to come and bully pit, like putting in legislation the prior year. So this is the type of things we have to do just to build that relationship. That's what it's all about. And I think we're in the right foot. We're moving in the right direction. Again, similarly in Annapolis, they see me in us. They know us. So it's always best if you guys can make it down anytime, just let us know to visit your legislators, your delegation. When you come down, Mayor, we really appreciate it. It makes a difference. When you guys come, I'm telling you, it's a world of a difference. So we encourage you to come down. Those are the type of things we need to do to be effective. So just let us know that those are the things we need to do for those relationships.
And then the three items, or the items, I guess, that are listed under the opposed, the restrictions on traffic enforcement and annexation process changes. Could you elaborate on those two items a little bit?
Yeah, I can speak on that. So the restrictions, this was looking at a number of, so when officers, they do traffic stops, there has to be a probable cause. So basically it was just, it was making amendments to what is currently allowed. Municipalities had concerns, specifically with ones dealing with like headlights or the license plates. There were concerns because one, municipalities have invested a lot of money in license plate readers, and with these amendments, you wouldn't be allowed to use those anymore. And then just with the headlights, what we were hearing, that's just one of the ways that municipalities are able to make those bigger arrests. So those were the concerns. It was very controversial. Some people felt it was an attack at police officers. So those type of conversations just led for it to not move forward. Also with the annexation, there were quite a few bills with those. There was one that would not allow you to annex outside of your legislative district. So that was a big one. And then there was one also, it was more so related to what's going on, I believe, is it Bladensburg area? So it was more so with the situation there where they were trying to annex an area where the state had invested a lot of money. So this bill would not allow for municipalities to make those type of moves if the state has invested a certain amount of money. Again, it was just something used to help resolve that situation. So thankfully it was withdrawn by the sponsor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greenwell. There was a question I had, or actually wanted to add an emphasis on. You mentioned the DNR meeting and funding. And yeah, that was a very positive meeting. I think it's something that the town can look at doing once we settle some of our new staff. We've got a new town administrator and we're working through fiscal year budget for next year. But there are opportunities for grants and for community engagement and involvement around tree planting and beautification in partnership with the state potentially. And I feel like there was maybe one other item. Also, if we could get a meeting set up now that the LBI for the Boys and Girls Club has been secured, just to get community input, kind of let them know what the process would look like and start understanding what else we need to do in preparation between now and next year's session so that we can make that a successful proposal. Councilmember Brownson.
Yeah, I had a question about one of the opposed items as well, and it was the annexation. And you said it had to do with Bladenberg. I'm sorry.
That's good.
And so I was wondering, I thought I read in one of those issues that the municipality couldn't annex a plot that's not attached to them. Was that one of the changes, or is that legal, or can you explain that?
So that's what I was listening. So great, thank you. So two of those annexation bills were actually, we found out they were probably the local disputes that the two parties tried to come in the legislature and settle their disputes by putting in legislation. The problem is that in both cases, the annexation laws that they were putting in would have affected everyone across the state. And so, of course, the one that we're speaking about going outside your district, they said that you could only annex within your legislative district. Well, most property you go after the annex and bring in is outside of the legislative district.
Right.
And so, of course, everybody working with MML and others and MACO, we were able to just push that back again. But we found out these were like some local disputes, and they were trying to use the legislature as a venue or as a vehicle to get these things done.
Thank you.
Thank you. One last question on the $100,000 grant we're working with for traffic mitigation. How much more time do you think we'd be able to get to implement the grant? Because it was initially one that needed to be expended by the end of the fiscal year. Obviously, if it's with NDOT and they haven't been able to finish on their end, we can't. It's not like not likely we'd be able to do that in 1 month.
So we'll work with MDOT, but again, the Assistant Secretary Bridges has assured us that now that it's got his attention, that we will be able to work with them.
Well, thank you, Jonathan and Leslie. If there's no further questions, thank you, Greenwell.
Thank you.
Right. Next, we will have Mr. Evan from JTCC. Good evening.
Please
Just
show me a
promise
little
not to pass
grace.
out. I'm just
I'll do
playing.
my best. But I'm here with the JTCC. That's the Junior Tennis Champion Center in College Park. You may have known of Francis Tiafo or Robin Montgomery. Those are individuals from our area who have gone to play professionally. A lot of people think that we build champions, and that is what we do. But a lot of what we do is also about education and equity, and that's what I'm here to talk about tonight. Specifically, a pilot program that we are initiating that I've been in communication with Mayor Lilly, Corporal Cephas, Ms. Sonora, contact with Chief Reese as well, where we're hosting a summer camp for youth in the area during the month of July and August. In addition to that, we'd like to provide afternoon programming for families, both adult beginners and their children or their loved ones. The reason that we're so passionate about doing this is because we're seeing correlations with sport, specifically the correlations between inequity in the impact that it has on longevity and quality of life, and what it looks like to have a more equitable sport landscape in our community. Because playing tennis specifically, Dr. Amen, if you're familiar with Harvard and their research that they're doing, tennis provides an additional 10 years on average to the life expectancy of those who play consistently. And it doesn't really matter when you start. The neat thing about it is it activates a portion of your brain that isn't stimulated through everyday activity or other sports. So, if you haven't started playing yet, now's the time to start. It's not just tennis. I mean, if you like pickleball, you could play pickleball too, but I'm not a big fan. But what I really want to share is that this is not just a mission of having tennis for everybody. We're using tennis as a vehicle to change the generational challenges of families. Our goal is to use tennis as a vehicle to provide scholarships for students to go to college and play. I mean, every bit helps. It's not just going pro. That's not everybody's goal, and that's not our goal for everyone who comes to our facility. If you can get $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 off of your college tuition, that allows you that much more room to do more with your college experience. And we've provided over $23 million in scholarships. We're currently working with 500 students right now, and the journey is far greater than the destination. It's the everyday experience. We want to use this as well as a way of providing work opportunities for members of the community as well if they're interested in coaching. So there's a lot that we can do with this, but we want to make sure that we mold it around the needs of Forest Heights. So I'm here to be a sponge. I'm here to learn. I'm here to ensure that what we're providing is scratching the itch, that it's articulating the areas in which we can continue to build and mold the Forest Heights community, and not necessarily coming and saying, this is what we think you need. I more so want to hear about what it is that you need so that I can be the advocate and the resource to create long-lasting change. So that's it in a nutshell. The summer camp is completely free. We are a nonprofit. The afternoon programming, where we're still mapping out, that will be at a low cost. We are subsidizing the rate. And it's highly dependent upon the demand for the class. So if we can have access to sharing surveys to see who's interested, that would be greatly appreciated. But that's all that I have for tonight. If there are any questions, I'd love to answer.
Yeah, thank you, Evan, for the presentation. Councilmember Noble. Council President Noble,
That's
my
okay.
apologies.
That's okay. I'm Paula Noble. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I can hear the passion
I love it.
for tennis. So I need to take tennis because I need to add 10 more years for right now.
Yes, ma'am.
My son thinks I'll live forever, but if I can get 10 more, I'll help him out. I guess my question, I know are you partner with the Forest Heights Summer Camp, right?
Yes, the Police Athletic League
Yes.
specifically.
So you're looking for more opportunities other than that camp, right? Because that starts July
Yes,
to August.
that's
Or is that
correct.
the same time?
It's the same time frame, but I'm more so looking for assistance in marketing, increasing awareness, ensuring that we'll have a turnout that we can use as a strong case study to ensure that we can do this for months and years to come.
Right. So I guess for me, I would like to see if this is something we all agree to, is how do we communicate So we use Instagram, we use Facebook, we use our newsletter, we use our electronic board for current and past information. So if we can get those things going, because we don't know who's in, we don't know that dynamic. And then we can also reach out to those schools in the area just to see, so.
That would be amazing. And we have a marketing department that can provide any flyers or materials
Okay.
that you need. We can take care of that for you. So that all you have to do is press a button and
Okay.
send it to those social media channels and outreach methods.
And I guess to coordinate with Mr. Holland, our youth coordinator.
We have a youth coordinator, yeah, Mr. Keith Holland, who would be a great resource for reaching out to schools. And in fact, Forest Heights Elementary had students that participated in a tennis program briefly last year. So likely we have some kids who've already been introduced and might be good candidates, as well as families to get deeper involved. Councilmember Brownson.
Thank you, Mr. Evans, for coming up. My question is, I know that the tennis center is in College Park,
Yes.
so that's a great distance for the residents here in Forest Heights. So, and we have tennis courts right here in Forest Heights. So I was wondering, could you bring your tennis camp here?
My apologies. That is the plan. Bell Acres Park is where everything will be hosted. I should have stated that. So I'm grateful that you
Yeah.
you brought that up. So there are 2 courts there.
Uh-huh.
All of the programming and the significance of this entire project is that we're aiming to have a community-centered and community-supported program. So our JTCC programming, we're bringing to you
Okay.
so that the commute is not a hindrance to the
Okay.
experience. Yes.
So back when Council President Noble was mayor, she had a tennis camp here in Forest Heights at Bell Acres Park, and it was very successful.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so I think that's a great idea.
Okay. I would love to learn about what made it so successful so that we can replicate all the strengths and then build upon that. That would be amazing.
Councilmember Donald.
I just want to ask, Mr. Evans, do you have a website?
Yes,
Can you give it to me, please?
jtcc.org.
Okay, thank you,
And the best tab to go to is the community tab.
thank you.
jtcc.org. My pleasure.
Well, Mr. Morcell, we're glad to have you here this evening. Looking forward to the partnership that we're building, expanding, because we did get the kids out to JTCC a couple times
Yeah.
last summer. This year, you're coming to us, and we hope we can expand into all ages. I know I'll be there.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it. There we go.
Council President Noble.
I just want to say one thing, since Councilmember Brownson brought it up. She's the tennis pro.
Whoa.
And we had,
Well,
well, I call her Forest Heights Tennis Pro.
Okay.
So she and another resident, Milton Smith, they made it successful. And then we had business, people donate rackets. I gave probably more than 100 rackets last summer to the camp over here in Southeast Washington because I wanted to give them away, but nobody would take them.
That is amazing. In the same vein, we are sponsored by Wilson. So all of the equipment will be provided by our organization in kind, and there will be no expenses to the constituents of Forest Heights when it comes to the equipment required to play.
one more question.
Yes.
The age group are you referring to the younger ones?
For summer camp, the age, I believe, is 5 to 13, which is elementary, middle.
Okay.
After that, 5 years old and older is the age range. We found that to be a sweet spot. I have a 20-month-old. We found if you go below 3 years old, it's a little bit too young.
Mhm.
So we bump it up to 5. That tends to work out pretty well. All right.
Well, thank you so much for being here. If there's no further questions, we look forward to the partnership. We'll see you this summer.
Thank you.
And tell the folks at JTCC, thank you for sending you down to brief the community today.
I definitely will. And it was great seeing you at the gala.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our presentations for this evening. Now we'll move into the council member and mayor reports. And we'll begin with Council Member McDonald from Ward 1.
Okay, so good evening again. Just two things. One is the green team We'll be meeting to discuss structure and green team support and overall priorities on June the 7th. And looking forward to the monthly Healthy Heights Youth Ride on this Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. Now we'll go to Councilmember Little, also from Ward 1.
Good evening. I do not have anything to report.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Little. Next, we'll go to Ward 2, and we'll begin with Councilmember Brownson.
I want to just report on the garden. We have quite a few new members. We have all our bids that are operable, except one have been rented. So it's doing really, really well. We've almost brought in $1,000 to the garden so far. So we still have bids, and I think there's gonna be more bids made. So if any residents or anyone would like to rent a bid for the growing season, you can call 301-839-1030 and talk to the person that answers the phone. They'll give you the details. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Councilmember Kennedy from Ward 2.
Hello, everyone. Want to remind everybody, in case they don't know, that this May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. You know, as the summer approaches or is here, you know, with the weather flopping back and forth, there's always going to be something to do. So just remember to stay hydrated, stay cool. There was a last minute, well, we were informed last minute about a yard sale that the mayor, I guess, reached out and told us about at Flintstone. And the only other thing that I'd like to say is if we can get these digital boards updated. I don't know if they were updated recently, but the last time I actually stopped and looked at everything that was on it, some of the stuff was old. So we can kindly update the digital billboard. That would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we'll go to Ward 3, Council President Noble. Oh, okay. Well, I was going by what's on the agenda, but you want to yield. Councilmember Hines from Ward 3.
Good evening. First, I'd like to say that I went to a ceremony to honor our police, and it was really, really done really good. And everyone that was involved in setting it up, and it was really good. I just want to say I really enjoyed myself. So thank you very much for everyone that participated, for everyone that came. The food was out of this world. Thank you again. Also, someone knocked on my door to remind me that we have a partnership with whoever planted the trees. And they said that they were going to do it the first 2 years. And they wanted to know, they haven't seen anyone maintain them, and they wanted to know to what extent. So I'm their advocate, and I'm asking that question. Also, I just want to say this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, and I just would like it if you guys just be safe with the grill, and just remember what Memorial Day stands for. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Hines. Next, we'll go to Ward 3, Council President Noble.
Excuse me real quick, please. Councilwoman Hines, did you want to remind everybody about the function Monday?
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good evening again. I just want to let everyone know that this month, Dementia Friendly South County met in the town hall. We had Dr. Johnson here, and we talked about ways to challenge our brain. So one suggestion was playing cards. And I know at one time the town on Friday nights or I don't know when, but they play spades and things like that. So we want to think about bringing those kind of activities back. And I did talk to Councilmember Little earlier, and she wants to bring crocheting for the teens. So we're trying to create some intergenerational time at the same time. So we're gonna work on that together. Also at the Oxon Hill Library was the I-495 meeting. And it's in Virginia, the Virginia side wants to put toll roads. And that's gonna affect this side. So we had, we filled the library. So it was a lot of pushback in reference to Virginia and a lot of support for our Delegate Woods, who initiated the meeting. Today I participated in a senior health fair in Brandywine. So I brought some literature for the town. So I'll put that downstairs. I have a thing with the trees. It's a tree on Creed that was planted as part of that project and it's down. So I don't know. And I know I have seen them. They have, they watered the trees. So they do come around periodically on a schedule. So I don't know, maybe they don't, I don't know. But a tree is down on Creed. So maybe we can look to see if we put it back up, or I think it's at 11 Creed. It's at the top of Creed and Sachem. Also, I wanted to just follow up with the speed hump on Onondaga. I don't know if that's been replaced yet, or if we know the status. I don't need a response. I'm just putting it out here. And then on Seneca, we have some grass issues, but we do know one resident passed away. So that property is in probate. And I did talk to Officer Williams, and he's going to deal with that. And the last two things, Neighborhood Watch, I'm going to talk with the chief to see when we'll have our first meeting. And hopefully it could be around when we're having other meetings, maybe an hour before. And the last thing is the electronic board. Someone called me and said that I must be out of town because the electronic board is outdated. And I said, no, I'm very much here. I said, I keep saying it and saying it. So the only thing I can do is say it again. Electronic board, because it's a lot of old information. But the other thing is when things that matter at the moment, we can't put them up there so people don't know about it. So we just have to figure out a way to be more productive with that board. If it's unplugging it until we can get it to work, or try to move things at another place on the board, I don't know. So that's my report. Thank you.
I think Mr. Jackson has something related to that.
The board has been fixed as of today.
Oh my goodness. Have the messages been?
Yes, and they have been
Okay.
updated.
Well, there is such thing as a miracle. So with that, I want to add one more thing. I want to say to all the students out there, no matter what age, it's scholarship time. So now's the time to reach out to your delegates and reach out to the senator, as well as there's opportunities at Prince George's Community College for District 8 to get free tuition or certification, whatever you want. So now's the time to look toward the fall. Thank you.
I feel like there's another issue mentioned, the trees. They're under a 2-year warranty, which means they come to water and to prune. And if a tree dies or is damaged and it's no fault of a resident, then they will replace the tree. So if we have areas where trees have been damaged or haven't been watered properly and starved or some other issue, this warranty replaces them during that period of time. And they also, I believe, had a geotag, so they should know exactly where the trees are, which streets, which locations, in order to give proper maintenance. And it would be good for us to do that sooner than later, since I think the warranty runs out in the end of the year. Councilmember Brownson.
On that note with the trees, that Chesapeake Bay Trust grant for the $20,000. That was earmarked to educate the residents about the trees and the tree maintenance and things like that. So that's what that grant was written for. So so the residents will know, where the trees are, why they're there, what they mean, what they do for the air and, in stormwater management and all those things like that. And it's supposed to be, I think, 2 educational sessions for the residents in that grant. If I remember correctly. Right, so, yes. So that's what
Okay.
that $20,000 grant was earmarked for.
Very nice. All right. I will present my report for the most recent period. Sure.
Council Brownson just said, who follows up with that in terms of the educational sessions and it being a part of the grant or meeting the grant requirements?
Yeah, so we will bring that up in meetings this week. We have some department head meetings and we'll find out what the next step is with that. It'll be in the report for next month from project management.
Also, I wanted to follow up with a request from a resident regarding, because I know that there were some residents who had put in to opt out of the tree planting, and there was, I guess the trees were planted anyway, Mayor Lily, and I don't know if we circled back with those residents, because there is one resident in Ward 1 who had that concern.
Oh, yeah, certainly. If that's the case, please forward it to town administrator and program management, just so we can be aware and circle back with those individuals.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. All right. Since our last meeting, we have made some progress on the budget. In fact, it's on the agenda for this evening for discussion. So the hearing is now. It'll be just a little bit after we conclude the mayor's reports and council members' reports. Also attended the I-495 Express Toll Lands community meeting. I won't rehash that except to say that the next meeting date, which we invite residents to and businesses and church members, anybody who's in the community, is going to be Wednesday, June 4th, 2025 at 6 p.m. And that's going to be at Oxon Hill High School. And that's a time to come both hear a presentation about what the project is, what's proposed to come, and then also to voice your opposition or support and to ask questions. So that, again, that'll be Wednesday, June 4th, 6 p.m. at Oxon Hill High School. I was also happy to participate and celebrate our law enforcement officers during the awards ceremony. Wanted to thank Chief Reese and Officer Coleman and Miss Lisa White and several individuals. There's a list of people too long to thank, but just the entire department for what you do and for highlighting the valiant efforts of our officers over the last 2.5 years. There's a lot of things they do that we don't see. They live a very dangerous day-to-day job that they do and perform on behalf of the residents and Forest Heights and the surrounding areas. So hats off to everyone who was awarded and recognized, and we hope you'll continue to excel, both protecting the town and keeping it safe. Over the weekend, Flintstone Elementary, they did let us know kind of late. We got word, I think on Thursday or Friday, about their yard sale and health fair. But it was a really positive event. They had a truck from Kaiser Permanente that was doing health screenings on the spot, which were free of charge. They had yard sale items from some of the staff and residents in the town. And they also passed out some information from Children's Hospital. Some food was distributed, and it was just overall a great time for connecting with community. Council member Kennedy also came out, and Mr. Jackson, our town administrator, was there as well. So we're looking forward to continuing to partner with Flintstone on some events this year in the community. They also brought up some things that we may be able to do with youth. I won't reveal them now. We'll make sure that they could be effectively done, but they're a great partner in the town. So that was a great event. This Monday, upcoming next event in the town, is going to be our Memorial Day Remembrance Breakfast. That's going to be this Monday, Memorial Day, May 26th, from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. 11 a.m. My apologies, 11 a.m. And we're inviting all residents out. This is an event that is not just for us to break bread, but we're going to honor the lives of those who pay the ultimate sacrifice for freedom, protecting our country. We will also have a resource on site for families of survivors or surviving families and veterans or past service members who need help and have questions around benefits and claims. So please come out and join us. We're going to have a good feast and celebrate the sacrifice of those individuals in our community. We also have a Public Works open house that will be on May 31st. That's going to be Saturday, May 31st here at the town building from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can stop by and have a little conversation. We'll have some information to give out to residents. And if you have feedback or questions, we'll also be taking that from you at that time. And there's another note, Mr. Jackson, we want to put that here at this time. No, okay. All right. So we look forward to seeing you out at those events upcoming, and we'll see you back in June after those. Share with a neighbor if you can. Council President McDonald, Council President Noble, Council President Noble.
Just a quick question. Will we still lay the wreath at the Veterans Park
Yes.
on Monday?
So on Monday, at the conclusion of the breakfast around 11 a.m., those who want can go over to the Veterans Park or the Veterans Memorial at Seneca and Woodland Drive. We will have a wreath there. So if you'd like to, you can lay some flowers on the, I don't know what we would call it. It's kind of a cornerstone. There's a list of names and a memorial centerpiece where you can lay flowers after the breakfast if you would like to do so. Thank you, Council President. All right, that concludes our council member and mayor reports for this meeting. And next we will move into legislation. Next we'll move in. I have public period after this here. All right, well, let's do before. It looks like it may be a little different online. Not a problem. We'll now have public period. Is there anyone who wishes to speak during public period at this time? This is a time when members of the community have 2 minutes to address the mayor and council. We ask you state your name and address, and we may be able to answer the question now. If not, we will provide an answer via a department head or official at a later time if we can't answer right now. Is there anyone who wishes to speak during public period today?
Hi, I'd like to.
Is there anyone online who wishes to speak at this time? I think I see.
Please go first. Yes.
Oh, no, I didn't see a spot where you could raise your hand. Is there one?
I'm not sure. Is there a function for raising hand in the meeting?
I was looking as well and I couldn't quite
Okay.
find one.
I didn't either. But that's okay.
There's a reaction button. You can raise your hand there, and yeah, and we'll then see the hands that are raised.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Okay, well, with that being the case, I think I heard 2 individuals. So the person who just spoke, I will let you go first. And if you could state your name and address, you'll have 2 minutes to provide comment.
Sure. My name is Andrea McCutcheon. And in regards to the public period, I'd just like to piggyback on what was said about your the information. One thing I noticed that I just found out that there was going to be a meeting today because my newsletter, I guess, was delivered on Monday, as well as some of my neighbors, and mine had gotten into it, had blown away, I guess. At any rate, I noticed the meeting your website is really bad because the calendar starts in September, I believe it is. And a lot of the resources as the board docs or whatever it's called, I couldn't find the meeting agenda for today. So we have no idea what you're talking about when you mention the agenda because we don't have one to see and it wasn't on your board docs website. The other thing I'd just like to say is I noticed too that the budget hearing was described, it's supposed to be, I think it says it's supposed to be 2 weeks in advance notice, and that wasn't given, and nor was it on your board that obviously had old information on it too. The other thing I'd like to say as far as public period is the stop sign at Seneca and Mohican. The cars are still running the stop sign. You did a study on it. It proved that the cars were running the stop sign, but there's nothing done. And out of your speed camera funds, it's for public safety. So I would assume that you would feel about the children and the pedestrians that use this street to walk on that don't have sidewalks. And you have people that one black car, just every time they come by, they're running that light or running the stop sign, which is a great safety hazard because at the speeds they're running it down Mohican and Seneca, if there's an accident there, I fear for our neighbors where their car will probably be knocked into one of our houses. And I definitely wouldn't want to see one of the kids on their mopeds or these motorcycles or skateboards that come down the hill getting hit by a car. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. We appreciate your comments on the website and on the stop sign. We did have a study done and a system that could potentially help us to at least enforce stop signs at different areas in the town. So if it's the will of the council, we can revisit that option. And the other comments you made are noted. Thank you. I just would note that we did get the budget hearing advertised in, was it PG Post, Madam Clerk?
It was the Gazette.
Okay.
Well, the Gazette
you.
isn't a newspaper.
Ms. McCutcheon, thank you. Since your time has expired, I can't allow you to continue to comment, but
Okay.
we have duly noted your comments and we thank you for them and we'll follow up on the items you brought to our attention. Thank you. All right, next, I think we have another person who would like to speak. If you could give your name and if you could give your address, and once you begin, you'll have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Willow. I live off of South Huron. And I had a couple of questions that came up while the meeting was happening. The first one was, given that we already had a group of people who went to the Oxon Hill Library meeting for the toll road conversation, for this upcoming one, is there any way that we could be, one, I suppose, is there a group from Forest Heights and we know that we're going, and is there any additional information that people could be given to maybe, I don't want to say like we should all be coming in together, but I was wondering if there was just any additional things that we could be given to maybe inform our opinions on anything, just so that we could maybe kind of stand together if we all agree on the same points. And then my other question was, for the people who have had those trees removed, or for the people a part of the tree program who wanted to opt out but received a tree, is there any possibility that, or is the plan that those trees would be relocated somewhere else in the town, or would they be disposed of? And those are my 2 questions.
Thank you, Ms. Collins, for being on. So on the first question, can we get information? I think that's possible. We may have to figure out which way we disseminate it, whether it's here at the town building or whether, I think the next meeting date will be after our next meeting. So we may be able to put something out at the next meeting on, I believe it's going to be June 2nd. We may be able to put something out by that time and also have some information. And I can't guarantee it, but I do know we can attempt to get something out. it would be nice if we could have a delegation or a group of folks from Foresights who partner up, link up and go to that meeting. Are there any ideas about how we could do that, get the critical mass of people to do that between now and then?
It's called the electronic board. We can post the next meeting. And for information, they can go to the website and look for the I-495.
Okay. Thank you, Council President. Councilmember McDonald.
Yes, I think if we knew what our needs were in this area, and that, you know, I guess to your point, you know, we could perhaps sing from the same sheet of music in terms of, you know, what is important to us in the town of Forest Heights, what are our needs and things of that nature, to be able to speak specifically to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson.
Yes, and I do remember Delegate Wood saying at that meeting, some questions that the individuals were asking could not be answered at that time. So it would be a good idea to have some background on the questions that they can answer and the discussion that they could have, rather than projecting 5 years, asking questions that they can't answer because it's 5 years down the road. So having a almost like a script or a summary or something like that for the residents would be nice.
One thing I know we can do is there's a website that exists currently. And I think if you can get it, we're going to give you the website. That will have a lot of answers to the question of what research has been done, what phase the project is in, and the other upcoming meetings. There is a very foundational meeting, which is very consequential that's coming up. It's a planning commission meeting, either the Metropolitan Councils of Governments or some other large regional planning authority is going to make a decision that's very consequential for this this project. Could you pass that to me? Okay, pencils ready. The website address is v dot, yes, okay, VDOT dot Virginia, VIRGINIA dot GOV /495 South Side. I'll do it one more time. I know that was probably confusing. VDOT dot Virginia dot GOV /495 South Side. That is the website that has the most up-to-date and accurate and comprehensive information about the project at this time.
Mayor Lily, may I, is my time up?
I can't let you answer further, but if you have other questions, please feel free to either reach out to Town Administrator, Mr. Jackson, or our clerk, Ms. Chisholm, and we'll try to cycle through the rest of them and get you to the right person or answer if we can. Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during public period at this time? Okay, going once, going twice. At this time, public period is now closed, and we thank those community members who attended the meeting today to give comments. Next, we will move into legislation. And we have on the agenda this evening a public hearing for ordinance 303-25. This is an ordinance of the town of Forsyth's Mayor and Council, Forsyth's, Maryland, to approve and adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget and authorize its amendment by resolution. And as part of this process, we will now open the public hearing for the budget ordinance for fiscal year 2026. Is there anyone who wishes to speak or provide comment on the budget ordinance 03-25 for fiscal year 2026? Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up or notified you that they would like to speak?
No one has stated that they would like to speak. However, the resident who was just speaking, Ms. Collins, did provide some questions that have been provided to council.
Yes, so we have several questions from council, which I'll go ahead and read into record on behalf of Ms. Collins. All right, questions that we received in response to the budget were, there are several of them. First is, are we pulling any money for river infrastructure support due to climate change? On this one, I'm also going to reach out to staff if there's an answer that you can provide context on. As far as it relates to river infrastructure, we don't have any funds dedicated to that. One of the reasons is because we did recently annex some of the water. However, we started partnerships with some organizations to understand what needs to be done, what the state of the waterways are near us. One of those organizations is the Potomac Riverkeeper Network. They were supposed to present tonight, but they will be back in July to give a more comprehensive presentation. And they are working around cleaning the Potomac River and Oxen Run and the local waterways that flow into it. And they'll be able to give some more information about some of the ways we can prioritize cleaning, but also adjustments to climate change and the impacts of flooding and other items like that. Next question was, are we losing money due to Petra and National View? The question is rather brief, but I would say that I don't believe so. However, if there's any staff member, Mr. Best, or anyone who wants to chime in on the financial impact of National View or Petra so far. Do you have something? Yes, go ahead, sir.
There is a pre-annexation agreement between Petra, National View, excuse me, in the town of Forest Heights, and until the property is developed, there will be no significant taxation of any type on the property. There's no municipal services being provided, so there's really no impact, and that'll probably continue to about 2029 or 2030 when the property starts to be developed more fully. They're looking for a detailed site plan presently from Park and Planning. And so it'll probably be another 6 to 12 months before they even break ground. So it won't be until about somewhere around 2030 before revenues will flow in due to municipal taxation. Otherwise, there's really no services being provided at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Best. Council President Noble.
On that note, Mr. Best, we're not providing any services, but are we receiving any tax benefit? And I know oh, go ahead.
Yeah, there is a small tax benefit. You've all heard of the tax differential, whereby property in the town of Forest Heights, for as far as the county taxation, is slightly lower because there's a duplication of services. The town provides some services that are duplicative of the county. Therefore, the municipal taxpayer gets a lower rate to pay the county taxation compared to their neighbors in the unincorporated area. So that differential, which is a few pennies per $100 of assessed valuation, is being paid currently, so that they being National View don't enjoy any type of windfall. They do pay a small rate as we speak of municipal taxation for their property.
Thank you.
Councilmember Brownson. We're going to read them as they were presented. We don't have any other members who are present. Just a moment. We don't have any other members who are present at the time for the hearing.
But
Thank
well,
you.
the council
Just a
needs to
moment.
go through the budget.
Councilmember Brownson, I haven't yielded the floor to you. Thank you. So we're gonna go through them unless there is a motion or the council desires not to, but we didn't have any other question or input related to the budget, so. Is there a motion from council on this?
Motions to do what are you proposing?
Is there a motion to continue going through the questions or to skip or to do what we're doing? Council President Noble.
Yes, I just had a question, I guess, and I don't know if we can ask Ms. Collins, but was this intended for public period or for the budget? Or these are budget questions?
Madam
I'm so
Clerk.
sorry.
Council President, the resident, Ms. Collins, did present them as questions for the budget.
Okay,
Right.
thank you. Then yes, I think this.
Thank you. Next question was, are there any new initiatives for our schools? Well, I think we saw one of the initiatives. It's not directly related to the school, but it is related to youth. In the partnership with JTCC, we had a spring camp program run by our Police Activities League. We have a summer activities league that will be run for a 4-week period, which provides recreation, education, and food and other enrichment. The schools are outside of the town's purview, so they're funded by the Prince George's County Public School System. The county has oversight over the land, over the instruction, the hiring of teachers, the curriculum, and also the activities. We kind of try to serve as a partner in the after-school hours on the weekends or when school is not in session. So we're doing a number of things to support the schools. Any council have any other things to suggest along the lines of school initiatives? Okay. Next question. Are we investing more in bike lanes along Indian Head and sidewalks in the town for pedestrian safety? We have in development a capital improvement plan, and that is encompassing some of the potential capital projects that we could do. It includes some repaving of streets, but it also includes areas where potential sidewalks could go. It's a multi-year, multi-step process. That plan will need to come back and be approved before the council. However, sidewalks and pedestrian infrastructure is part of that. Along Indian Head Highway, that's a state highway. And so all of the town has the authority to perform law enforcement activities along the highway. In order to do capital projects, the state has to approve those and fund those. So it's not included in our budget, but on the residential streets within the corporate limits of Forest Heights, we are trying to identify where streets could go. Once we have a plan that has resident and council feedback and approval, then we can seek potential funding. And as always, if projects funding comes up prior to that or after that, we can bring that to council for consideration. Council Member McDonald.
Yes, so as this does relate to public safety, Ms. Collins, there's possible opportunities for us to look at signage and markers, because we are just getting up and trying to, I guess, utilize the Bell Acres Park and looking at where the Maryland Parks and Planning could support efforts in that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. Any other comment? Oh. Okay. Has the town done a survey regarding the sinkholes? And on this, I'm going to pivot to some of the staff. I know we've had a number of issues with sinkholes and some repairs. Mr. Belnavis, do we have any recent activity that you're aware of? Or Mr. Jackson, whoever may be more appropriate to answer that.
Yes, Mayor. 200 Seneca Drive, we had a sinkhole there. It was reported to WSSC. as well as Deepak. They came out, they did an assessment, and they basically said it was misutility. I took the new town administrator out to see the issue. And what we did was we went out and just solved the problem ourselves. We were able to pack that hole that developed at the corner of Seneca and Mohican. And so far it's holding. And so we were able to pack it in. We had to get quite a bit of topsoil to solve the issue.
Thank you, Mr. Belnavis. I would also add that Public Works vehicles have a system called Biolytics that allows, as they drive around, this system is scanning and surveying the roadways and signage. So it's looking at things like storm drains, stop signs, and other traffic safety devices around town. So it builds an electronic database. The team will be using that to inform the capital improvement plan. And so I guess to your answer to the question, we do have a system in place now that's helping us to survey the improvements that we need to make in town. And part of getting the plan done, that helps us to then allocate correct amount of funding and then to scope out projects that can be completed in the coming years. Next question was, how does our town support services for the homeless population? And if I'm correct, I don't know that we have a specific outfit for doing that currently. When we have noticed some homeless individuals or those who are experiencing homeless in the town, we have alerted our officers, but not to arrest them. It's been to connect them with crisis services, and we've done that successfully a few times recently. We partner with nonprofits that provide an 24-hour hotline where we can assist an individual with getting into a shelter or go into a facility that can assist them. Chief Reese, did you want to add anything else on that?
As far as the initiative, as far as dealing with the homeless, you are correct. So now, since that situation, all of the officers are now informed on the resources where they go to 24 hours a day, to give them the resources that they may need, which it may be, if it's dealing with homeless, if it's dealing with food, or just even connected them to social services. We now have that connect with the county. We got that through the county exec's office, through the municipality liaison. She provided that. Now the officers have that, so we can help anybody that. Of course, if we look at it for the ones that want the help, but for the standpoint that we take on it is, if they say no the first time, we'll accept it, but it's a work in progress. We'll keep doing it until we get the message across.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Our next question is, do we have a regular food bank? And while the town does not have a regular food bank, we do have a number of churches and other organizations in the area that regularly provide food, whether free of charge or at a reduced rate. At St. Mark AME Church, and I wish I had this day, I'm pretty sure this is on Wednesdays, they have a food share program where residents can pay a subsidized rate for food. It includes an entire meal. So they have to pre-order. St. Mark AME Church is next to Henry's Soul Food and on the other side of town, but they have a food share program where residents can register and they can pay 50% or 75% less than the normal cost for 1 to 2 weeks worth of food. And this is like items that have not been cooked. So this would include meat, vegetables, and other dried and preserved foods. So that's one of the options that we have. Is anyone else familiar with another food program that we could direct residents to currently or that we do? Councilmember Council President Noble.
Oxon Hill United Methodist Church, I believe it's Tuesdays, they have a food pantry there. So you have to be a resident of the of course, of Prince George's County of the state. And I think you show ID. I'm not certain of that. And then there's another church in Largo. They do a drive-through every Friday, but I can give more details on that. But again, you have to be a resident of the state.
Yeah, so the town doesn't have a program that it runs. This is primarily due to staffing, and just the majority of what the staff is doing here day to day is administrative. However, we do welcome partnerships, and if residents know or can connect us with other groups that can bolster our efforts, we'd be open to doing so. Council President?
I believe in June, District 8, the chair, Ed Burrows is doing a hunger from, is it 8 to 1 or I can't remember, but I know that's coming up.
On the date is yeah, there's going to be a connecting community resources meeting too. Is that what you're referring to? On Saturday, June 14, 2025 from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is actually going to take place at Forest Heights Elementary School. There will be a special community meeting specifically for connecting residents with resources that are available in the county and around the area, around essential services, support, mental health, food, and other resources. There'll also be a giveaway for gas and groceries at that event. All right, next we have, how does the town intend to attract small businesses considering that we are an opportunity zone? To this question, we are already working on that. We have a number of businesses in the area. Our new town administrator has been making connections and having conversations with some of the businesses in the area to find out what they are planning to do and how they can support the town. As you know, the National View Development, I believe, is one that is going to be developed under the opportunity zone designation, as it's designed to have mixed income and moderate income units in addition to the full rate units. A more in-depth economic development strategy is something council can talk about and take some feedback on and decide on. Something we'll be having more conversation about this year as we move to our strategic planning phase. Next, we have we seen a major shift in ownership versus renting over the last year? Does our town prioritize ownership through assistance programs? Currently, we do not have an active assistance program. However, we do have some nonprofits that we have partnered with in the past to provide upgrades or weatherproofing to residents who may be elderly or those who may have moderate incomes. It's a good question, and I think that we will be looking into that further, so we may have some better answers. It's not included in this year's budget, however. Next, we have, could there be some kind of community effort to help repair to help each other repair our homes? Something like Habitat for Humanity volunteers, where volunteers in the community work on others' houses, like raising a barn. Well, I think we, as a community, I don't know what the specific initiative would be, but we are open to more community partnerships, even if it's within Forest Heights residents gathering together to help our neighbors. I think that is something that the council community would support. Needs more conversation. So maybe there's a committee that can discuss some of the specifics of how we might do that in the remainder of the year. That concludes the questions that we had for the budget. Any council or staff additions to the questions that have been asked so far? Council President?
Just with the budget, I want to know how or have we coordinated the, our contracts in the budget, their expiration and just, are the contracts corresponding with the dollars in the budget?
So for your question, I would go ahead and if there's no one else who wishes to speak during the public hearing portion of the budget, we will conclude it. Can I just see if there's anyone online who wanted to comment or speak during the public period?
Yes, I had some items I'd like to speak about. I didn't know you had to submit questions.
You didn't, but since you're here, this is a public hearing, so you are more than welcome to ask your question.
Okay, and I do have some statements that I'd like to make because I was afforded the budget 2025 budget and I was making some comparisons. The first thing I'd like to say is that the town, it looks like, was $3 million over budget for FY 2025. Second thing I'd like to say are your speed camera funds are for public safety, pedestrian safety, and infrastructure safety. And it seems like the majority of the money is going for the police officers' budget. The third thing I'd like to say is that your trash, I can't remember how much it is. It's $300 and some odd on our tax bills. I noticed that you collect $324,000 on taxes for the trash. However, you spent $160,000 at the end of quarter 3. And I don't understand why you're collecting more in our property taxes than you're actually spending for the contract. And also the fact that the trash is collected where, unfortunately, the people on the my side of town have to put out trash twice a week, whether for recycle and for the actual trash pickup. And that I was told a while back by the town administrator, it was for the convenience of the trash company. The next thing I'd like to mention is that it looks like approximately $3,000 in the 26 budget was allocated for senior citizens, the exercise program. And last year you spent $23.94. That's the only thing that I see for seniors in the community. And there's a lot of seniors, such as myself, 67 years old, that we could use some services, such as maybe a bus or something like that, to take people for groceries. I know you have a grass cutting event. I saw that in the newsletter, but it was outdated. I think it said April or something like that. The other thing I'd like to mention is that the grants you have appropriated in the 2025 budget, you did not receive a lot of those. And it looks like you're anticipating grants, you're spending on these grants, and then you don't get them. So then you're operating at a deficit, particularly with the PAL, Forest Heights Police, the PAL program for the kids, and also hold on a minute, I have my other sheet of paper. It looks like you're spending about over $100,000 for the youth programs where the county PGC 116 or something to that, and the PAL grant you didn't receive for last year. I noticed that in the comments it said that $50,000 I think was received in 2024 that would be administered 2025. So you're spending this money, as you noticed a couple of years back, the GOCCP grant and the state grant, you allocated funds for police officer salaries and then you didn't get the grant. So anticipating all these grants, I don't understand why you're actually spending the money before you get the grant. And that's putting you over budget.
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon, for your comments.
Is that all? I had a couple more issues. Should I have written it down to get more?
You can submit if you have more that you can't provide in the 2 minutes. You can submit the additional ones.
Well, you're approving the budget tonight, though.
No, we're not. We're not going to do that tonight. That's why we wanted to have the budget hearing so we could take feedback, and we have some more items to discuss. So it won't be approved tonight. You can rest
Well,
assured. Thank you,
well,
Thank you, Ms. McCutcheon. If
thank
you
you
would
for the
please send the rest of your
disadvantage.
comments, we'll address
Thank
them.
you
And I
very
appreciate
much.
you. I appreciate the comments that
Thank
you
you very
raised.
much. I'll write it up.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your comments specifically around senior services, and thank you for providing some ideas of how we might give additional service to seniors. Thank you for mentioning the trash. The contract that we currently have with trash is a multi-year contract, so it does not expire until the end of next fiscal year. However, in our renegotiation efforts, we will be exploring single-day trash pickup for the residents' convenience and some of the other issues that you've noted and other residents have noted. On the comments around the spending of the grants, I know that some grants appear in restricted funding and are not spent until they're accepted. There are several grants we've received from Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, direct allocations from the Prince George's County Council budget. Sometimes they can be confusing and they can seem duplicative, but I rest and assure you that we have regular financial reports. We know which grants we've received. The grant spending is tracked. The grant spending has to be reported back to the council. And so to other folks watching, those grants are not overspent. They're not misallocated. They're strictly monitored, and we have taken account for them. Some of them are awarded and they cover an entire fiscal year, which means even if the award is approved or the grant is accepted later in the fiscal year, they can cover all the costs that fall under that grant for the entire year, even if it's prior to the time that the grant was accepted by the town. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during the public hearing session for the budget? Okay, well, hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. We now have ordinance number 03-25 up for discussion. We will not be voting on the budget ordinance this evening. We will be revisiting the revisions and comments from council today at our next meeting, which I just want to confirm the date. That will be Monday, June 2nd, Madam Clerk.
Correct.
And Mr. Frankenfield, are you online, sir? If you could just give an overview of some of the changes to the budget since the last time that we met.
Hey, Mayor. Yep. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Happy to discuss changes. The majority of the changes in this budget version from the prior version was around grant spending, grant awards, what we're going to spend in fiscal year 25, what's going to carry over to fiscal year 26. There's a couple other additional line items we changed just based on the year-to-date financials, vehicle repairs, fuel, the public works contractor, we decreased that line item and added the parking software contract from our last meeting. But happy to entertain any questions. That's the summary of the changes.
Thank you, Mr. Frankenfield. Discussion, there are questions from council on changes to the budget or the budget as it stood from last meeting. Councilmember Brownson.
Yes, I have a question about, account 6041. In your budget, I don't see a budget justification for that, account code in the package that you gave us. You want me to read all my questions or go one at a time?
Yeah, can you give me the line total that you're looking at? 6041.
Yes. I said that, there's no budget justification for what that is. I was looking at page, 9.
Okay, noted. Yep. Chesapeake Bay Trust Grant you're talking about.
Yes, you
Okay.
added it on the budget, but you didn't put a justification for it. That's what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying?
Yep, agreed.
Okay. Okay. The next question is, excuse me, on page 11, the office of the mayor, it increased by 32%. It went from 18,000 in 2025 to 24,500 in FY 26. And I was wondering what justifies that increase? It's a 32% increase in the office of the mayor's budget.
We added the $6,000 line item for the employee performance bonuses.
Yes, and I have a question about that. If it's a performance budget, shouldn't that be under general administration if it's related to the employee's performance versus being a bonus?
I think it fits in either section. But the mayor, as the chief administrative officer of the town, will be responsible and in these reviews. So I think it probably lands best under his budget.
So it is an employee's performance budget, right? Because one place you have a bonus, the word bonus, and the next place, someplace else you have employee performance budgeting. Someplace you have bonus, so it's not consistent throughout the language of it. So, and then on page 14, the retirement audit. What is that?
So the town is
20,000 is new this year.
the town is going to have to pay the state for the actuarial studies of the staff and their salaries to determine a pension cost to enter the state's pension system. So with entering the pension system of the state, we're going to have to pay the state to come audit our books and our payroll records to determine those costs.
So, is that listed in the justification of what that means? I didn't see it listed under the explanation, which is the budget justification. I didn't see that listed as what that meant.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, we need to add it.
And so another question I have on page 23 for Forest Heights Day. And I know we talked about this in the Ways and Means Committee, that you only allocated $3,000 for Forest Heights Day for FY 26. And I think we know that $3,000 will not sponsor Forest Heights Day, but there was no change made to it.
Well, I'll chime in there. That's not Mr. Frankenfield's fault. We needed to get a figure to bring back to council, so we'll bring one. There's a figure tonight that we can give as a preliminary suggestion, and then we can have a final one by next meeting.
Those are all my comments, questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson. Was Councilmember McDonald, did you have a question? Okay. Is there any other further discussion on the FY 26 proposed budget at this time? Any other comments from staff on the budget changes, suggestions? All right. Well, hearing none, I'll move that we postpone the adoption of the budget until our next regularly scheduled meeting, which would be on Monday, June 2nd. Is there a second? Okay, I withdraw my motion.
I'm sorry. I did have one question, Mr. Frankenfield. The Maryland Local Impact Grant, it's the grant that was awarded to the town to offset the casino activity. Where's that item?
So it's in revenue. Let me get to the right page. It's a revenue in two places. So 6118, which is page 4. So that's our fiscal year 26 grant. And then our fiscal year 25 grant, which was very specific to youth and community, is on page 5 in 6,300. And then the spending for 25's grant is at the end of the package under restricted grants. 90142502. It's page 25.
And what's the deadline, Mr. Frankenfield?
So the county is pretty accepting on carryovers. So they're late to award. They asked us to have it done by the end of the fiscal year, but we really get notification January of the current year. So, you know, we get the notification in January. We have to have it done in June. They've given us extensions for all of our county grants in the past. But the deadline is supposed to be 6/30/25.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McDonald. I might offer to amend the budget for Forsyth State now before we go to the next meeting, so that will at least be in. I move that we amend the budget, increasing the line item for Forsyth State at $15,000. 15. Is there a second?
Oh.
I'm sorry, the mic or speaker went out momentarily. You said you're amending it to what again, please?
Amending it to 15,000.
Yeah.
Did you want a second, or you just considering?
I'll second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we amend the fiscal year 2026 budget for the line item on expenses for Forsyth State, amending it to 15,000 from 3,000. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, discussion. Let's do discussion before we do the motion to ayes and yays.
I just want to know what line item with the additional 8,800.
It's page 23.
Yeah, whatever. Makes me say, what's the difference? Where's the difference coming from? So that. Thank you.
Good question. If I might add, the reason for the change to the budget is not simply because we want to spend town cash, is because the model we're using, we're planning to bring in some investment to help fund the increase. However, good question. Is there a suggestion?
My question.
Go ahead.
I guess, like Councilmember Little, we have to find where does it come from? Where do we extract that difference now? It's easy to increase it, but where is it coming from out
Sure.
of this budget? If we're going to stick with these numbers.
Sure. There's an option to pull it from another line or to let me ask this question. As it relates to the items that we are gonna do around recreation and community, this festival, because it's recreation based and it is a partnership where there will be educational resources, it'll be outdoors, community building, community informing. We have the potential to use some of the grants as a portion of it. Do we need to? Can we, actually, let me ask this question. Have we made the formal ask for the extension on allocating the funds that we're going to use from some of the grants that we received late this fiscal year?
I haven't seen any communication, Mayor.
Oh, okay. So what we'll do is this. Between now and the next meeting, we'll get a formal answer on the funds that we were awarded that we need more time to spend. If we get the answer, then we'll have the source of the funding. And what we'll need to do is simply to increase the area that's going to be budgeted for Foresight Day. And we'll do it that way. And then we'll also have probably a more solid idea of exactly what the amount is that we'll be bringing in from sponsors. All right?
My question was,
Yes. Councilmember McDonald.
where did the 15,000?
Well, it came from some of the initial costs of knowing the number of people we normally have attend, food, advertisement, setup, and other things we need to do since it's going to be July or it's going to be August, a hot time of the year.
I think with the increase of food and services, that I don't know that 15,000 should just be the number. So to your point, in terms of just knowing what the real number would be.
Sure. And one thing I would mention too is for this event and for all the events going forward, there will be an event overview that outlines what the budget is, what the items are to be allocated toward, who is submitting the request, who's managing, and then a report of what was spent versus what was budgeted prior. That's a process that's being introduced for fiscal year 20.
And hopefully residents are not just to spend.
That's the
for
goal.
Foresight Day.
That's the goal with the increase, is to understand how we can provide options for food and for other things that will be provided where residents don't have to spend once they come. Yeah, we'll be at $3,000. We'll have to ask them to pay for everything. Have a good night, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Councilmember Brownson.
Yeah, when asking the question about where the money is coming from, and I think I was looking at the budget versus actual for the April report, and a lot of these items, line items are already overspent. So I know there's gonna have to be a lot of adjustments for the end of FY 25. So if we arbitrarily just think that you can just, pull money from one thing and another, that's one of the questions I was gonna ask Mr. Frankenfield. With these items as of April already overspent, it's gonna have to make adjustments. And then we do this budget, assuming that everything is equal. To me, it's gonna cause, I won't say a deficit, but it's gonna cause some complications and tough decisions that have to be made. So if we're already overspending by the end of April for FY 25, we're gonna have to adjust some of the grants and some of the funds and stuff like that. And then blindly adding things to FY 26, assuming that everything is equal, it's not gonna work out. It's not gonna balance.
Thank you for your comment. I would just like to recharacterize a portion of what you said, which is individual line items may be higher than they were projected to be. However, the budget overall is not overspent. We've spent less than we projected based on the budget. And we won't be making decisions blindly about how we allocate for next year. We'll use the information we have as accurate and as recent as it is. And so we'll use the information as accurate as we have, and we have to work on trends. We'll have to use information to the latest date that we have, because we won't have until the last date the last report is produced, but we will have information up until that time.
Right, so I know that you're saying just because the line items are overspent doesn't mean that the budget is overspent, but I thought there were some places where, I thought the purpose of a budget is to put line items in and then spend what's in that particular account, that particular line item. So if we are always going over the line item because we're not overspending the entire budget, I don't know whether that's a good practice for fiscal responsibility. It's just, if we look at a line item and say, oh, it's just a line item, I look at the bottom line and everything is fine. That's not good accounting and not good budgeting.
Thank you, Councilmember. Council President Noble.
Yes, I think from a financial or finance place that, and we don't do this, is there's no variance reporting. So we see the differences, but we don't know why. So if there was a variance report, and I don't know, and that may be department wide. So if the police department is over or under this month on this line item, then they say why they're over, because under works better than over, right? And then you have the explanation of it. So you know how to plan every time something is up. Why is it? Maybe we had to order more paper. Maybe we had to repair more things. And then you know also what's going on with your equipment and all those other things. And then you can manage better. So it may be another task, but if we stay on budget, then it shouldn't be that difficult to do like a variance report. Sorry, department heads. Thank you.
Thank you, both council members. Yeah, it isn't improved financial management is our goal. And I think we are saying pretty much the same thing. All right, if there's no further discussion on the FY26 budget, did we approve our motion to postpone until Mr. Best, you have something to add?
Yes, point of order. Is this intended to be terms of ordinance 0325, the first reader? If so, I don't recall hearing the title read into the record.
I believe this is our second reading.
Yeah.
We had it on the budget was introduced as an attachment April 16th. It was read first time May 5th. And so today's the second reading. Let me see what the amount or the item that I read into record was that it was about the public hearing ordinance. So I need to read something else into the record. Is that correct?
The title.
Okay. We have before us for discussion ordinance number 03-25. This is an ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Forest Heights, Maryland, to approve and adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget and authorize its amendment by resolution. I move that we postpone the adoption of ordinance number 03-25 until our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be Monday, June 2nd, 2025.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we postpone the adoption of ordinance 03-25 until our next regularly scheduled meeting on Monday, June 2nd. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Brownson.
I just have one more question about the budget that he submitted to us. He didn't attach page with the staff on this draft that he just sent us, so.
Okay, I think he can make sure that that's included. Thank you. Anything else? Any other discussion with the motion to postpone? All right, hearing none. Please signify by saying aye if you're voting in the affirmative to postpone the budget adoption.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, hearing none, we will revisit the budget for adoption at our next regularly scheduled meeting. That's the only item of legislation we have on the agenda at this time. Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, you did make a motion to amend the Forest Heights State budget. Would you like
Yeah, we're
to
gonna
postpone
do
that as
next
well?
meeting. Yeah, so I withdraw that motion. Thank you for that. All right. At this time, I move that we go into closed session. And this is under the general provisions of Article subsection 3-305. This is for reason number 7. This is to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. And also for reason number 1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, and any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. The topic we expect to discuss regarding these matters for reason 7 is legal consultation. And reason for the closed session discussion of topic is to obtain legal advice about a specific legal matter. On the second item, we expect to discuss the resignation of an employee, and the reason for the closed session is to discuss the resignation of a specific employee. Mr. Best.
I'd like to discuss the Fogg case, if you could add that as a third item.
Okay, so we also, well, I guess that'll fall under reason 7 for legal consultation. Is there another item that it might fall under? Reason, one of the 10 that are enumerated here? Or maybe it's actually 13.
I don't remember what number it is, but there's another one to discuss ongoing litigation or potential litigation in addition to legal counsel.
Okay.
I think there is another one. I don't remember the number under the Meetings Act.
Okay, so it would be also reason 8. We also are going into closed session for reason 8 to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. And the purpose of that is to discuss the specific litigation of a specific litigation matter. All right, is there a second to go into closed session?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we go into closed session for the reasons stated prior under subsection 3-305, reasons number 1, 7, and 8. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President Noble,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Brownson,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lilly.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous. The motion carries.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the time is now 9:59. Council will go into closed session, which means only specific individuals can attend. Members of the public cannot. We will come out of closed session and you're welcome to remain online until we do so. We'll come back and give an account for what activities were taken in closed session. So you're now welcome to wait. We'll return briefly. Thank you for your time.